Do you ever feel pressured to have all the answers? In a world overflowing with information, it's easy to believe that knowing more makes us smarter, even wiser. We collect facts, opinions, and expertise, hoping to build a fortress of certainty. But what if true wisdom lies not in what we know, but in what we acknowledge we don't know? What if admitting "I know nothing" is the first step to profound understanding? This seemingly paradoxical idea comes from one of history's greatest thinkers, Socrates, an ancient Greek philosopher who wandered the bustling marketplaces of Athens. He didn't write books or build grand theories. Instead, he asked questions relentlessly. He challenged everyone, from powerful politicians to acclaimed poets, forcing them to examine the foundations of their most cherished beliefs. Socrates was famously declared the wisest man in Athens by the oracle at Delphi. Puzzled, because he believed he knew nothing, he set out to find someone wiser. He questioned those reputed for their wisdom, only to discover that they often mistook their confidence for genuine knowledge. They claimed to know things they couldn't truly explain or defend. This led him to his profound conclusion. "I know that I know nothing," Socrates declared. This wasn't false modesty or a celebration of ignorance. It was a profound realization. The first step towards genuine wisdom is to recognize the limits of our own understanding. To shed the pretense of knowing everything is to open ourselves up to the possibility of truly learning something new. Think about it. When we believe we already have the answer, do we truly listen? Do we remain curious? Or do we simply defend our existing position? The illusion of knowledge can be a powerful barrier to growth. It closes our minds to new perspectives, to deeper insights, and to the subtle truths that lie beyond our current grasp. Socrates saw that many people were living under this illusion. They confidently spoke about justice, beauty, or virtue, but when pressed, their definitions crumbled. They were unaware of their own lack of understanding. Their knowledge was often a collection of unexamined assumptions and inherited beliefs, not a product of rigorous inquiry. The danger of assumed knowledge is that it breeds arrogance and stagnation. If we think we know it all, why bother to learn, to question, to explore? This state of false certainty prevents us from seeing our own blind spots. It's like navigating a complex labyrinth with a map you believe is complete, only to find its missing crucial pathways. By contrast, acknowledging "I know nothing" is an act of profound intellectual humility. It's an honest assessment of our place in a vast and complex universe. This humility isn't a weakness, it's a strength. It's the fertile ground from which genuine curiosity and the desire to learn can spring forth. When you admit you don't know something, what happens? You become open. You start asking questions. You listen more attentively. You become a student of life, eager to gather new information and perspectives. The phrase "I don't know" is not an end point. It's a starting line for inquiry. Socrates' method was all about this inquiry. He engaged in dialogue, a process of question and answer, designed to help people discover their own ignorance, and through that, begin to seek genuine understanding. He wasn't there to provide answers, but to help others learn how to think more clearly and critically. Imagine a cup that is already full. Can it receive any more water? Similarly, a mind that believes it is full of knowledge cannot easily receive new wisdom. Admitting "I know nothing" is like emptying the cup. It creates the space necessary for fresh insights and deeper truths to flow in. This doesn't mean devaluing existing knowledge or expertise. It means holding our knowledge lightly, always being aware that there is more to learn, that our current understanding might be incomplete or even flawed. It's about maintaining a beginner's mind, even in areas where we feel proficient. The person who claims absolute certainty on complex matters often reveals not their wisdom, but their lack of deep inquiry. True wisdom understands nuance, acknowledges complexity, and is comfortable with uncertainty. It recognizes that the more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. Think of the greatest scientists or artists. A hallmark of their genius is often a relentless curiosity, a constant questioning of assumptions, and an openness to being wrong. They understand that breakthroughs come not from clinging to old certainties, but from venturing into the unknown, guided by questions. Socrates believed that the unexamined life is not worth living. This examination begins with ourselves, with our own beliefs and assumptions. By questioning what we think we know, we can uncover hidden biases, irrational fears, and limiting beliefs that may be holding us back from true understanding and a more fulfilling life. When we embrace knowing nothing, we become better listeners. Instead of waiting for our turn to speak or to prove our point, we genuinely engage with what others are saying. We listen to understand, not just to reply. This deep listening is a cornerstone of meaningful connection and shared learning. Admitting ignorance can also be incredibly liberating. The pressure to always be right, to have an immediate answer for everything, is exhausting. When you allow yourself to say, "I don't know, but I'm willing to find out," you release a heavy burden and open yourself to authentic discovery alongside others. This Socratic wisdom is not about accumulating a vast library of facts. It's about developing a certain quality of mind, curious, critical, humble, and open. It's about the process of inquiry itself, rather than the mere possession of information. Wisdom is a way of being, not just a collection of knowing. Consider how children learn. They are endlessly curious, constantly asking why. They have no shame in not knowing. They absorb information like sponges precisely because they are aware of their own lack of knowledge. Socratic wisdom invites us to recapture some of that childlike wonder and openness. The fear of appearing ignorant often silences us. We hesitate to ask stupid questions, even though those questions might be the key to unlocking deeper understanding for ourselves and others. Socrates showed that the truly stupid thing is to pretend to know what you don't. Courageous questioning is a mark of wisdom. Knowing you know nothing makes you more cautious about forming judgments, especially about other people. You realize the complexity of human motivation and the limits of your own perspective. This leads to greater empathy and a reduced tendency towards dogmatism or self-righteousness. This Socratic stance protects us from being easily swayed by rhetoric or popular opinion. If your starting point is, "I don't know," you are more likely to critically evaluate claims, seek evidence, and think for yourself, rather than blindly accepting what you are told. It fosters intellectual independence. So how can we practice this in our daily lives? Start by noticing when you feel the urge to assert certainty. Pause, ask yourself, "Do I really know this, or am I just assuming? Could there be another perspective?" This simple pause can be transformative. Embrace questions, not just asking them of others but of yourself. Why do I believe this? What if the opposite were true? What am I not seeing? Turn your mind into a Socratic dialogue. This internal questioning is a powerful engine for self-discovery and intellectual growth. Cultivate intellectual humility. When you encounter someone with a different viewpoint, approach the conversation with the possibility that you might learn something, rather than with the sole aim of convincing them. Recognize that your current understanding is not the final word. Be comfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty. Life is not always black and white. Many important questions don't have simple answers. The wise person can hold complexity and paradox without needing to prematurely resolve it into a simplistic explanation. Remember Socrates' analogy of the midwife. He didn't implant knowledge, but helped others give birth to their own understanding. Similarly, by admitting our own not knowing, we create space for others to explore their thoughts without fear of judgment, fostering a more collaborative search for truth. The pursuit of wisdom is a journey, not a destination. Knowing nothing is the recognition that this journey is infinite. There will always be more to learn, more to understand, more to explore. This keeps life dynamic, engaging, and endlessly fascinating. This Socratic approach is not about feeling inadequate, it's about feeling empowered. Empowered to learn, to grow, and to question. It shifts the focus from the pressure of having to know to the joy of getting to discover. It transforms ignorance from a source of shame into a catalyst for adventure. Ultimately, the wisdom of knowing nothing leads to a more profound understanding of ourselves and our place in the cosmos. It cultivates a sense of wonder and awe, recognizing the vast mysteries that still surround us. It is a humble, yet deeply enriching, way to engage with life. Consider how often we stop listening once we think we know what someone is going to say. By consciously adopting a perhaps I don't know stance, we can truly hear them, potentially uncovering nuances or perspectives we would have otherwise missed. This enhances communication and relationships. The modern world bombards us with information, often presented as absolute fact. Socratic skepticism, the habit of gentle but persistent questioning, is a vital tool for navigating this landscape. Is this true? What's the evidence? Are there other interpretations? This protects our minds from misinformation. Admitting I don't know in a professional setting can be daunting, yet it can also build trust. It shows honesty and a willingness to learn, often more valuable than feigned expertise. It opens the door for collaboration and finding the best answer, not just your answer. True learning often involves unlearning. We must be willing to discard outdated beliefs or incorrect information to make space for new, more accurate understanding. This requires the humility to admit we were wrong, a direct consequence of recognizing we didn't know as much as we thought. The Socratic paradox frees us from the need to win arguments. If the goal is shared understanding and truth, then discovering your own error is a victory, not a defeat. It means you've learned something new. This changes the entire dynamic of disagreement, making it constructive rather than combative. Intellectual humility doesn't mean lacking conviction. You can hold strong values and act decisively, while still acknowledging that your understanding is incomplete and open to refinement. It's about balancing commitment with an ongoing openness to learn and adapt. The statement, "I know that I know nothing," is not an endpoint of despair, but a gateway to continuous growth. It ensures that our quest for knowledge and wisdom never truly ends. Each answer simply uncovers new, more profound questions, leading us deeper into the mysteries of existence. When faced with a complex problem, the one who claims to have an easy solution is often the least wise. The Socratic approach encourages dissecting the problem, examining it from all angles, admitting what isn't known, and proceeding with cautious, reflective steps. This wisdom counters the expert culture, where individuals feel pressured to project absolute authority. Socrates reminds us that true authority often comes from recognizing one's limits and being transparent about the process of inquiry, rather than just delivering pronouncements from on high. Think about your own learning process. When are you most receptive? Often, it's when you acknowledge a gap in your understanding. That little spark of "I need to know more about this" is the engine. Socratic wisdom is about intentionally cultivating those sparks. We live in an age of specialists, yet Socrates championed a more holistic examination of life's big questions. What is justice? What is a good life? These require more than technical skill. They demand the humility to admit we don't have all the answers and the courage to keep seeking them. The oracle's pronouncement about Socrates being the wisest wasn't because he possessed more information, but because he, unlike others, was aware of his own ignorance. This self-awareness is the critical distinction. It's not the absence of knowledge, but the absence of the illusion of knowledge. This mindset fosters resilience. If you don't expect to know everything, you're less likely to be shattered by mistakes or failures. Instead, they become learning opportunities, data points on the ongoing journey of discovery. Not knowing allows for the grace of being imperfect. Challenge yourself this week. Find one belief you hold with great certainty. Then, genuinely try to argue against it. Explore its counterarguments. See if you can understand why someone might hold the opposite view. This exercise can powerfully illustrate the Socratic principle in action. The wisdom of knowing nothing is not passive. It is an active, ongoing practice of questioning, listening, reflecting, and remaining open. It's a dynamic engagement with the world, driven by an unquenchable thirst for deeper understanding, rooted in the honest admission of our own limitations. Socrates was eventually condemned to death for corrupting the youth and impiety, largely because his questioning threatened the established order and the comfortable certainties of powerful people. This highlights how challenging assumed knowledge can be to existing power structures. Yet, his legacy endured precisely because his commitment to truth and rational inquiry, rooted in intellectual humility, resonated so deeply. He showed that true strength lies not in clinging to dogma, but in the courageous pursuit of understanding, even if it leads to uncomfortable truths. The Socratic method encourages us to define our terms. When we talk about success, happiness, or freedom, do we truly know what we mean? Often, we use these words vaguely. Pressing for clarity, even with ourselves, is a step towards wisdom. What do I actually mean by that? By admitting we don't know, we invite dialogue rather than monologue. We signal to others that their perspective is valued, that we are open to co-creating understanding. This fosters an environment where collective wisdom can emerge, greater than the sum of its individual parts. This approach is profoundly ethical. If we are aware of our potential for error and ignorance, we are less likely to impose our views harmfully on others or to act with arrogant certainty in ways that disregard unintended consequences. Humility breeds carefulness and consideration. Knowing nothing is not an invitation to relativism, where all opinions are equally valid. Rather, it's the starting point for a more rigorous search for what is true, using reason, evidence, and critical examination. It's about aspiring to know precisely because we acknowledge our current lack. This Socratic insight can reduce intellectual anxiety. The pressure to be an expert on everything is immense. Realizing that wisdom lies in the journey of questioning, not in the destination of knowing it all, can bring a sense of peace and renewed joy to learning. Think of expertise not as a fixed state, but as a dynamic process. Even the most knowledgeable expert in a field is constantly learning, questioning, and revising their understanding. They embody Socratic wisdom by knowing that the frontier of knowledge always recedes. When you find yourself in a debate, try shifting your goal from winning to learning. Ask genuine questions to understand the other person's viewpoint. You might discover flaws in your own reasoning or find common ground you hadn't seen. This is applied Socratic humility. The wisdom of knowing nothing fosters intellectual courage, the courage to ask the obvious question, the courage to challenge prevailing assumptions, the courage to admit when you're lost or confused. This courage is essential for any genuine pursuit of truth. This isn't just about grand philosophical questions. It applies to everyday problems. I don't know how to fix this leaky tap, but I can learn. I don't understand this financial report, so I will ask someone to explain it. Humility opens doors to practical solutions. Socrates believed that wrongdoing stems from ignorance. People do wrong because they mistakenly believe it will bring them good. Thus, the pursuit of self-knowledge and the admission of ignorance are crucial for ethical development, for understanding what truly constitutes a good and virtuous life. Know thyself was another famous Greek maxim, closely related to Socrates' philosophy. This self-knowledge begins with honestly appraising what you know and what you don't know about yourself, your strengths, weaknesses, biases, and motivations. This is the foundation of personal growth. The more comfortable we become with not knowing, the less we fear being wrong. This frees us up to take intellectual risks, to explore unconventional ideas, and to innovate. Fear of error is a major impediment to creativity. Socratic humility helps to dissolve it. Imagine a world where leaders and citizens alike were more willing to say, I don't have all the answers. Let's explore this together. This Socratic spirit could transform our public discourse from adversarial battles to collaborative problem-solving. It starts with each of us. This doesn't mean becoming indecisive. Action is often necessary even with incomplete information. But Socratic wisdom means acting with an awareness of your potential fallibility, being open to course correction, and learning from the outcomes. It's informed, humble action. The beauty of Socrates' insight is its accessibility. You don't need a formal education or a high IQ to practice it. You just need honesty, courage, and a willingness to question. Wisdom, in this sense, is available to everyone who is willing to embrace their own, not knowing. True wisdom isn't a destination but a way of traveling. It's a continuous process of shedding illusions, embracing questions, and deepening our understanding, moment by moment. The admission, "I know nothing," is the passport for this lifelong, enriching journey. When we release the need to be the knower, we can truly connect with the mystery of existence. We can stand in awe of the complexity of a single flower, the vastness of the night sky, or the intricacies of the human heart, without needing to reduce them to simple formulas. Next time you're in a conversation and feel the pressure to contribute something smart, try asking a genuine, open-ended question instead. See how it shifts the dynamic, for you and for others. This is a small way to practice Socratic wisdom and foster deeper dialogue. The core message of Socrates is timeless. True wisdom is born from intellectual humility. It's the recognition that the more we learn, the more we realize the vastness of what we don't know. This isn't a failing. It's the very foundation upon which genuine understanding is built. By embracing "I know nothing," we don't become empty, we become open. Open to learning, open to growth, open to others, and open to the profound beauty and complexity of the universe. This openness is not a void, but a space filled with limitless potential for discovery. Socrates left us no written works, only the example of his life and his unwavering commitment to questioning. His legacy is an invitation to examine our own lives, to challenge our own certainties, and to find the courage to admit what we do not know, for in that admission lies the seed of true wisdom. So the next time you are confronted by the unknown, don't see it as a threat to your intelligence. See it as an invitation from Socrates himself, an invitation to be curious, to question, to learn, and ultimately, to become a little wiser by acknowledging the vastness of what remains to be discovered. The path to wisdom is not paved with accumulated facts alone, but with the humility to recognize our limits and the courage to constantly seek beyond them. Knowing that you know nothing is not the end of knowledge, but its most profound beginning. What will you question today?